Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the April 17th meeting of the Facilities Committee. I call this meeting to order. Mrs. Helms is on the phone. I need to approval of the agenda, but I have to make some additions and deletions. Under open session action, we're going to add the open session minutes from October 31st, 2018, November 29, 2018, January 16, 2019, and February 5th, 2019. Those were all in your packets. Under closed session, we're going to delete the two sewer bids and add closed session minutes for the same dates as the open, which is October 31st, November 29th, January 16, 19, and February 5th. So I need a motion to approve the amended agenda.
Motion to approve the amended agenda.
Great, thank you. Second, all those in favor?
Aye.
Great, thank you. Okay, Mr. Burnett, you're up. Utility easement, Sun Valley High School. Oh, no, wait, I'm sorry. I missed it already. Minutes. I need a motion to approve the 4 dates, October 31st, November 29th, January 16th, and February 5th minutes, open session minutes.
Motion to approve the minutes.
Second, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. We just started. We started with the minutes, so now we haven't gotten into the body. Mr. Helms just joined us. Mr. Burnett, utility easement, Sun Valley High School.
In your package is the easement language. There's also an exhibit with the map showing the existing route of utilities and then the new easement route, and that's for underground conduit. We are asking the Facilities Committee to recommend to the Board of Education the approval to grant the utility easement to Duke Energy, and this is in the sum of $1.
And has this agreement been approved by our legal?
I did send this to Kevin Bringawat.
Okay, great.
I did not hear anything back.
Michelle's nodding yes. Okay. Does anyone have any questions? If not, I'll entertain a motion to recommend to the board the approval to grant the utility easement to Duke.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you. Next is the cross-country trail easement at Weddington High School.
Okay, and this actually is 2 easements. It's one for the Klingerman property and one for the Demaraki property, and I hope I pronounced that correctly.
You did.
Okay, good. And this is for the sum of $1 each for each easement. The easements are in the package, and our attorney did produce this. We have
This is
exhibits.
for the cross-country trail, right?
Yes, we have exhibits for each, and this is where the cross-country trail, the existing cross-country trail, goes across private property and has done so for years. And fortunately, the occupant, the residents, the owners of the property have been okay with that, but they just wanted this formalized.
Okay. And the 2 agreements are the same, correct?
Yes.
For each of the properties. And they have, under this, they can give us a year's notice to terminate the easement, which is nice of them. Year's a good amount of time.
What would happen if they sold their home and moved and there were new owners?
The easements here and the easement should
Runs
follow
with
the
the land.
property.
Okay.
And then they
What?
would have that option.
Okay. Got you. Thank you.
How much land are we talking about, too?
Very significant.
Well, it's
Crosses a
it's the back side of 2 pieces
Yeah.
of property, and so maybe it total 20 foot in width, and it varies. It's just along the back side of their property.
You can see it a little bit
Yeah.
running through it.
It's existing. It's been there. They're both okay with it. We just wanted to formalize the fact that we were going across their property.
And they don't have any liability if anybody gets hurt.
No, there's a
on the
hold
trail.
harmless and
Okay,
indemnification provisions.
Perfect.
Okay, so I need a motion to recommend to the board the approval to enter into the 2 easement agreements with the adjacent property owners.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Western Union.
Okay, this is, we're in a fortunate position on this particular project where we have completed the original scopes of work, and we are identifying some additional needs, and we want to make sure and see that the committee and the board are in agreement with going in this direction. Of that is to have additional scope and to pursue that scope. And the scope that we're looking at and are proposing and have worked with the school with prioritizing is furniture and equipment, specifically furniture, media center, STEM classroom, and art classrooms. That's $69,000 and change. I said approximately $70,000. The school also asked to have additional canopy in the front. We've got a change order price of $56,120 for that. And we are asking, that we supplement the HVAC that serves the kindergarten wing. And that is an estimate of $75,000. The issue there is, especially in cooling season, it just doesn't keep up. And that those classrooms can become uncomfortable, a little bit high in humidity and a little bit warm. And so that is has been a long-standing need, and not in this document, but just looking at the price this morning. I just received it yesterday afternoon. We do have a change order that we have known about, and we need to do that. This is going to be the #1 priority out of all these additional items that we want to do. We have an issue in a group restroom, boys restroom. Where we have right now, we've got it temporarily shorn up, and that, but we have some cracking that we need to deal with. So it's a load-bearing issue, and so we have a structural solution for that. I just looked at the price. I said this morning it was $44,671. I haven't gone through the details of that pricing, but for planning purposes, I want to put that full amount, out there. So when you add all that up, it does exceed the approximately $231,000 dollars that we have. But what we would like to do is, #1, see if you all are in agreement with doing additional work, and then prioritizing it would be our priority would be the change order, the structural change order, the HVAC, the canopy, and the furniture and equipment.
So in that order, with the furniture coming last?
That's where we're coming from. But if you all certainly have different priorities, I would just really want to say #1 priority needs to be that change order, that structural change order.
I agree with that.
And so I want to jump in, Dave. We have walked the site and looked at this. These are all things that we need to do and will do at some point in time. We felt like it was a good opportunity to utilize all of the existing funds that we had on the project to do the work, but it is stuff that needs to be done. And we have prioritized with the structural piece and HVAC, and want to stretch our dollars as far as we can a little bit later on. I know the canopies were requested early on, and they are a little short, so it would be nice to extend them.
So wait, the 3 projects, 70,000, 75,000, and 56,000, add up to 201, and 4,000 to 6,000 wouldn't put us over budget.
44,000 is that change order.
Okay, it sounded like you said 4,000, so I'm like,
Okay.
Oh, I'm sorry,
what?
44,000.
44,000 to 61,000, is that what you said?
$44,671. So
Okay,
sorry
I'm like,
for
wait a minute,
mumbling
the
in the
math
I was like,
microphone.
wow,
Not
that's a
working here.
really simple structural
Yes.
issue.
Yes.
No,
I thought
Do
too.
it.
I thought that too. I'm like, why are we even talking about that? Okay.
my apologies. So, and the rationale for putting furniture and equipment, last, mind you, the school is going to want that to be, a higher priority. But we just thought we had some more opportunities, to be able to fund that and fund that over time.
And in the future, with the money that we have in budget every year to do stuff at schools. Okay.
I'm a little confused by the language here. Are you saying that that your request or this request would use the 231, it's not remaining. You're going to use all of that to do what you're requesting.
If you all agree to the scope, it would exhaust the funds.
Okay. Okay. The
Or come
remaining,
close. If we pulled something off the agenda, off the priority list.
I see what you're saying. It
becomes
should
close.
really
Yeah.
say that we currently have $231,000 available
to
for these projects.
Yeah, it's not
remaining after this.
Yeah,
So we
because
have- it's remaining from what we did before, but it's available to use today.
available. You
Total
might-
remaining will
Yeah.
be zero.
Yes, the total
mean,
remaining after this. would be
Because
zero.
if I was a Western Union
Okay.
citizen, I would say, wow, 231, what else do we want?
Right.
Okay. Good
Okay.
point.
I agree with your priorities.
I
think
do
that's
too.
important. Yep.
And especially the change order being number one.
And the HVAC's number 2.
So I will make a motion to recommend to the full board to approve this and send it to the May meeting for final approval.
All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Thank you. Next is the replacement flooring finish bids for Hemby Bridge Elementary School.
We received 2 bids for the flooring. Bonnet's Flooring Group provided the low bid of $124,440. That includes, I wrote bid alternates, but it's really bid areas 1 through 4. In area 4, we want that to be the LVT, which stands for luxury vinyl tile. It's a different product, and it's not a very large area. We do want to use it, test it. It's a product that has as far as life cycle cost, it's a lower life cycle cost than VCT, which is what we often predominantly use, but we're trying to get away from that because VCT has a low first cost, but it has a high life cycle cost. And we're paying for that every single year with stripping and waxing floors and things like that. And we really want to try to move away from that. So this is a product that we hope will enable us to do that. This bid utilizes 2018-19 CIP funds. We have $126,000 remaining in that budget, so that's a difference of $1,560.
Would this be able to get done this summer?
That is the plan.
Okay.
And we've got the bid tab, and we have a map that shows the different areas that are involved. Some of this is carpeting, and a lot of it is carpeting. And you'll see again the small area of the LVT, which is that area 4, which is circulation areas.
Circulation. Okay. Great. In budget. Good.
So I will make a motion to recommend to the full board the approval of the Hemby Bridge floor replacement.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Flooring bids for New Salem and Forest Hills.
We received 1 bid for this project, and this was bid on April 11th, and this was from Bonnet's Flooring Group again. Staff's recommending areas 1 through 3 at Forest Hills, and only area 1 at New Salem. That's for a combined total of $73,865. Bonnet's has performed work for UCPS in the past. It's within our budget of the 2018-19 CIP combined budgets, which is a total of $179,265. So we're really good there. And this does include, this project includes abatement. So we should try to show that to help you all see that we're able to do the abatement, we're able to do the flooring, and we've got the budget to do that. And the recommendation is that staff requests the Facilities Committee to recommend to the Board of Education the approval of the floor finishes contract at Forest Hills and New Salem with Bonnet's Flooring Group for $73,865. Now,
I was going to say that doesn't include the abatement portion.
That's right. And that's
Okay.
one thing I wanted to mention to you all. And we can change this recommendation and to say to include the contract for abatement. That was with Dury, I believe.
Yeah.
Yes,
I think we should-
Demolition Asbestos Removal, Inc.
We should do both at
Okay.
once. Okay.
So that contract is That's $75,361. So we would change that recommendation to include enter into a contract with Demolition and Asbestos Removal, Inc. For $75,361 for the abatement needed at Forest Hills High School. Now, just to make this a little bit more complicated, the phase 4 is on this abatement bid tab. You'll see at the top says project removal of asbestos containing materials. And you'll see under DARI, which is number 2, demolition and asbestos removal. Phase 4 under Forest Hills, $2,470. That's actually something that we're going to code out of a different project. And the reason you'll see that later coming up, and that's going to be the ADA project.
Okay.
So it'll come out of a different budget.
Okay. So the low bidder was demolition asbestos remover. Is that what you said?
Yes.
Removal.
Are you calling that Daria or something? What are you calling that?
They go by an acronym,
Okay.
DARI.
I was having trouble finding it. I was like, what?
That's why I kept trying to remember.
That's a lot to say.
Say it out.
Demolition asbestos
I'm like,
remover.
where is he? Okay, got it. And
Yeah.
so under that phase 4, you were referring to the 2470?
Yes,
Okay. And that's going to come from a different budget.
different pot of money.
Have you identified that pot of money?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, so then the motion should read that we recommend to the Board of Education the approval of the contract at Forest Hills and New Salem Bonnets Flooring Group for $73,865 and asbestos removal with DARI
Yes.
in the amount of $75,361.
I just have one quick question too, real fast. I see we're putting VCT in. How come we don't want to go with the LVT here? Just want to test it first.
Well, yeah. So Henry Bridge, if you saw the area, it's a limited area, but it's also a very high traffic area. So we think that would be a good test. We do want to be going in that direction. We don't want to go 100% in that direction yet.
Okay.
75,361, I think. Is it, so on the sheet it says 72,891, and is that adding the 2,470 to it to get to the 75,361?
Yes.
That's what I thought, okay. You add the 2,470 and that's where he gets it. Yep, 75.
Yeah.
So how do we update this document that you sent to us?
So we will change the recommendation. And we'll also add more up at the top
Okay.
to include this information.
Yeah, so when this goes to the full board, make sure this is all updated.
Yep, and I'll
And
send
the
it to Ms.
numbers are
Hindle.
correct.
Okay, so what,
So east, as far as asbestos, not at this time, and that's we're just holding off on that.
Okay, so we're not doing that one.
not east.
Not at this time.
Okay.
Okay, I need a motion.
So move to recommend to the full board the placement flooring for New Salem Elementary and Forest Hills High.
Okay, second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Next up is the Weddington Elementary and Middle School HVAC controls.
3 bids were received on April 16th. Platinum Building Automation provided the low bid of $622,000. That's inclusive of bid alternate number 1 and the $20,000 contingency. This company has performed work for UCPS previously. This bid is within the available 2016-17 CIP funds of $492,500, and then we supplemented that with 2018-19 CIP funds of $379,000. So we're within budget by $249,511. Staff requests the Facilities Committee to recommend to the Board of Education the approval of the HVAC contract with Platinum Building Automation for $622,000.
Does the contingency or the $249,511?
It does not include the $20,000.
It does not include that.
It does not.
Right.
The
That's
number with the contingency is 229,511.
The $20,000 contingency is in the bid, is in the $622,000.
This is
Allowance.
inclusive.
It is an
Inclusive
allowance,
of, okay,
I agree.
okay,
And,
it does.
yeah, and the bid, if you'll see on the bid tab, it says contingency and it shows being in that. So it's an
In
all-inclusive
that whole
total.
thing. Okay,
And we were just being consistent.
okay. So I need a motion to recommend to the Board of Education the approval of the HVAC controls contract with Platinum Building Automation for $622,000.
So moved.
All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Okay, next thing, proposed school name change, Sun Valley Elementary and Shiloh Elementary.
And Ms. Morris is gonna,
Okay. Join us.
yes.
Good morning, members of the Board of Education. This is on your agenda because the community at Sun Valley and Shiloh have met. They have followed the administrative guidelines regarding name changes. They've established committees and have met regarding a potential name change for those schools as we move forward this fall. I don't know if you want the principals are here present, if you want them to.
Sure, come on up. She has to leave. I know, right? They're getting used to this now.
Yeah, the principals established a committee that, as you know, the policy and the administrative guidance set forth a committee and the composition of that committee. What they did is they invited a full complement of members of the committee from each school, and they shared one meeting on April 2nd. As part of the process, they also did a parent survey. And did you also have a parent meeting or just the parent survey?
Were parents on the committee
Yes.
from each school
Yes.
and teachers and all that?
Yeah, there was administrators, both principal and assistant principal. There was community members, site-based team members, teachers, parents from each school invited to, and most had everybody attend. And
Awesome. Parent survey?
they did a parent
Okay.
survey.
Okay.
And we have the results if anybody is interested in seeing those. I also have the survey questions as well as the minutes from the site-based team meeting, or the meeting that was about the name change committee meeting.
Yeah, I mean, if you would like to share
Sure.
Survey.
some
that would be
information,
great.
like
Absolutely.
what was in the survey, what did they have to choose from, what were the results?
Sure. There was the
And
question.
the total percentages and who.
There were, are you in favor of changing the names of the two schools was a question on the survey. Yes, no, neutral, other. And then what name possibilities do you suggest? And that was left open-ended. That was the questions related to the name change.
Was this survey sent home in children's backpacks or was it electronic? Like what kind of survey was this?
It was electronic.
Okay, so, yeah, so when you have an opportunity to tell us how many you got back,
Yeah.
responded.
There was 291 responses.
Oh, wow.
And how many were in favor of a name change?
We had 33% were neutral, 33.3% were neutral, 32% no, 22.7 yes. And then there was 101 responses regarding potential name changes. And there's a whole list of those. And then there was the the name change committee meeting, and the recommendation of the committee was to change the name. And there was
And this mostly affects which school more? What's the names?
the recommended name.
Equal?
Yes.
Okay.
And I will let them disclose the recommended
Okay.
name since it's their schools.
The recommended names are Shiloh Valley Primary School and Shiloh Valley Elementary School.
Shiloh. So Sun Valley Elementary will be what?
The primary, Shiloh Valley Primary.
And Shiloh will now be Shiloh Valley
Elementary.
So Shiloh Elementary School will become Shiloh Valley Elementary School. Sun Valley will become Shiloh Valley Primary School.
It was interesting when they did the plus delta for each of the proposed names. Shiloh Valley for the committee was the only one that didn't have any deltas. They felt that it honored the history of both schools, keeps that 100+ year history for Shiloh, and connects the schools. The others felt like it either one or leaving it either didn't honor the history if they combined and left the name for both, or didn't connect the clusters and unify the campuses.
How does that affect our state funding, or will that become 2 schools or 1 school since they have 2 different names?
It shouldn't impact anything at all because it's remaining 2 separate schools. In order to retain their school numbers, etc. The name shouldn't affect anything.
All we would do is submit a name change to DPI. We wouldn't change the accountability code or the organizational code or anything like that.
So what were some of the, just out of curiosity, what were some of the negative comments that parents or teachers had with respect to changing the name? I mean, even in the community meetings, like what was their biggest issue? Is just history, or is it?
I believe in regards to the survey, it was more about remaining with the building, the name remaining
Just
with the history of the building.
Okay.
And that's why we knew as a committee, we wanted to honor both buildings.
Okay.
With recommendation.
Which you did with.
So just so that we're clear, if Maureen were watching, the existing Sun Valley Elementary building will become the K2,
Yes, ma'am.
and that will be the primary,
Yes.
Shiloh Valley Primary School.
and then Shiloh Valley Elementary is the existing Shiloh that will be 3-5.
Correct.
Okay. And both site-based teams were agreeable and worked together on this, like in the same meeting.
Yeah, we had membership from both site-based teams on the
So
committee.
not 2 separate meetings, but they worked together in
Correct.
a singular meeting.
Yes.
Okay.
Anything else?
We got a question more for facilities and Dr. Houlihan. Do we have a cost estimate, how much it's going to cost to rebrand for far as signage,
So-
state road signs, everything?
We are costing that out now and have been. I don't know when we'll have it finished, but it'll be soon.
So can you
So you
give us a
Are you
more
asking
than?
for
So-
approval
Is it
today?
50,000? Is it 100,000? Is it
we had put in, I think I asked for 20,000,
okay?
and that may not get everything we need right off the bat, but
Okay.
it may be more.
You mean for each building?
Yeah, so
Or
you've got the
total?
total. You've got the signage out front. You know, the marquee sign or
You
the
think you
letters.
can do both buildings for $20,000?
Well, that's what we're budgeting right now.
So
may
it's the
be more.
stuff. It's the signs out front. Is there lettering on the brick?
On the brick.
Okay.
There's also the marquee sign out front, which is new at Shiloh Elementary.
Like a electric.
Right, it's electronic one.
So the top part.
Right, the top part can
So
be
we have
changed
to
out.
buy the new banners that slip
Right,
into.
right.
Okay.
Sun Valley does not have a marquee sign. So you're talking about the letters on the exterior of the building. There may be some stuff interior. That's why we're costing it out now.
Okay.
I think possibly what we may have to consider is kind of a phase in that we take care of exterior as much as we can for this next year. And then you can do things that I've seen in other schools like banners and other kinds of signage on the inside that's very,
Right.
and then come back. So I'd asked Mr. Strickland kind of cost this proposal based on the priority, come back to both facilities and finance when we get to that point with that recommendation.
And
and where the
that's,
funding would come from.
that money will be in our CIP budget for fiscal 2020? Or do we have money right now to do it?
I think both. I think we're looking at the priority number one, which would be the exterior signage, would be finding funding now in this year's current budget. And then all the interior or secondary would be in the following year's budget request.
And we don't, again, Dave's got someone costing it out now and looking at both schools, but the interior part, we think will be rather limited on the classroom
Right,
doors. You just got
exactly.
the signage. There may be some painting that we need to do.
Okay. Do you think that by the time we meet on the 7th of May at the board meeting, because this will have to be taken up at the board meeting, that you'll have a better idea? Or yes, okay.
And the school colors, are they going to merge or get new, or how's it going to work?
School colors.
We talked about school colors and a mascot, and then gathering student and parent input for that.
Because I don't know if we want to do signage without the right colors or not in place.
Well, the ones outside, well, right, the marquee sign would depend on what the mascot is and what the colors are. But the letters on the building
Doesn't matter.
matters and
that's
stuff
neutral.
like that. That's neutral. But right, we wouldn't want to change out the marquee sign until we know what the colors and the mascot.
Trying to maintain the Shiloh history, would you be leaning towards the Shiloh colors and mascot, or are you thinking about just changing the whole thing?
I think one thing to consider too is the flooring was done in the last year or two in Shiloh to our colors. So we've got blue with splashes of gold. So the interior matches it. Plus we do have the our mascot in a large tile special.
My thoughts are, if you're trying to maintain the history and the community identity around Shiloh, it seems like you would lean towards the Shiloh recognition.
Sun Valley Elementary is
Spartans.
So they're like the middle of the line, right?
Making
And just-
the bulldog with the Spartan costume.
Right, with brainstorming, keeping the united and the merging, honoring both legacies of both schools merging. So having an option to keep things the same and or to merge colors and mascots in some manner.
Okay, great. Okay, so if nobody has any questions, we need a motion to recommend to the full board the change of names at Shiloh Elementary School to Shiloh Valley Elementary School, and from Sun Valley Elementary School to Shiloh Valley Primary School.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Okay, Mr. Burnett, we are on energy management update.
And this is for information.
Right, we're in the non-action side of the open session.
So an introduction first. Loretta Moore and David Rivera, if you guys would wave. So Loretta joined us in July, I believe. And David has been with HVAC as an HVAC technician and moved over in January, I believe, right after the holidays. So wanted to give you an update, on the energy management program, and that the program. I'll start off with audits. No, you don't. I'm just going to give you. It's a verbal presentation.
Gotcha. Okay.
And that things that have been accomplished so far, each school has been audited twice, and that is a walkthrough of the facility. It's where we generate work orders for things that we see that might be leaky faucets or thermostats not working properly, or weather stripping, or window caulking, or things like that maybe the schools aren't seeing or putting in work orders on. The typical findings on these audits are personal appliances such as refrigerators or microwaves or coffee pots or space heaters that are in the classrooms that shouldn't be. We find that TVs are left on 24/7. We are finding computers that are left on, window blinds that aren't closed, HVAC systems, in some cases that, are scheduled to be off, but they're on. And, that's where, again, we would need to put in a work order to get those things fixed. And thermostats in mobile classrooms that are set outside of the guidelines. And they, you can manually set most of those up. And they can be whatever. And that is a problem. Again, the program is early, and we're early in that program, but the highlights are such that we're comparing ourselves to last year. So last year is our benchmark. Currently, up through January, we show a savings of $280,000 overall in energy consumption. Specifically with electric, that's a decrease of 2%. Natural gas is a decrease of 9%. Irrigation, unfortunately, has increased 0.5%, which is a little surprising. And water consumption has stayed the same. Sewer consumption has increased by 6%, and we're studying that to figure out what's the deal there, because it doesn't make sense. And we need to find out, whether it's a rate increase, a formula change, or something like that.
If we have schools where the boosters or the PTOs are putting in irrigation systems for fields, I assume we pay for the water.
We do. And then
irrigation went up.
I'm sorry?
Irrigation went up this year?
It did.
During the monsoon season?
Now, this is through January, he said.
Through January.
Yeah.
Still,
but
right.
Yeah, the fall, we had a very wet fall.
I know.
But this goes back to July. And so it could have been July and August and September, where that increase was. We'd have to look specifically at it to see where that was. The thing that doesn't make sense is the sewer consumption, and that's something we're checking out.
It's something to consider. I mean, I get that irrigation on fields at elementary schools and stuff could be beneficial, but it also costs us money too. So it's kind of weighing the two things when boosters and PTOs come to us about elementary fields being irrigated and things like that.
Yeah, and I'm not thinking of any current elementary schools that have irrigated fields. I know we've had some requests, but and I could be wrong. Okay, so there is
I'm
one.
not naming names on camera.
Okay,
So what was the sewer again?
sewer increased by 6%.
And that's at locations that we have sewer? No.
Yes, the Prospect's not in that. New Salem,
Any
Salem's
place
not
that's a
in there.
septic.
Didn't
Correct.
that go up personally, residential wise too? I don't know.
Yeah,
You have to look and see.
Yeah.
but a rate increase is
But that's tied to the water, isn't it?
Yes,
So
typically the water and sewer are.
But
are
do
the
we
same.
have separate meters?
Irrigation
For
meters.
irrigation, we do.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
good. So we shouldn't, for irrigation, we shouldn't be paying sewer fees because it's separate
Exactly.
meters.
So I'm just wondering why water consumption didn't go up with sewer.
That's right.
It's weird.
Yes, it is, and it's something we have to check.
I
And-
know some places that have septic and there's going to skew the numbers, but at least we can
Right,
have a baseline for the areas that have a sewer. We can run that number.
Right.
okay.
And that is something that we do check to make sure that where we do have irrigation, we do have irrigation meters, because we don't want to be paying the sewer, on that. We also have been pursuing reimbursements. So we've received 7 reimbursements from, and that's on the water side where we've had water leaks. That's so far, that's $12,183. We got one that's pending. We have installed some programmable Wi-Fi controlled thermostats in 12 mobiles at the early college. And that's something that we hope to do much more of. We can see them remotely. We can program them and make sure that they're staying within the guidelines. And we think that will be a very a good investment. And the nice thing about those is that we do receive a reimbursement from Duke Energy and incentive. So basically, we're paying half the cost when we get that reimbursement. Thermostat's $102, and we get $50 back on that. Duke Power rebates, we are we're pursuing the chiller reimbursement at Sun Valley High School. It's about $70,000. And other reimbursements or incentives would be lighting and other HVAC projects. So just to quantify a potential savings with the appliances in these classrooms, we've calculated that we found 630 personal convenience refrigerators in classrooms. That equates to about $50,000 a year. And so this summer, that's when we're going to be putting out a word to the, go ahead.
No, I want you to.
Say that again.
No, I want to say two quick things. But Dave and I have both been a part of this stuff. I'm anxious about it. I care a lot about it. We are not where we will be. And two reasons for that, two major reasons. We got a late start. You get your savings in the summertime. Loretta didn't start until July, and it killed us over the summer. We didn't get anything over the summer. So this summer will be a lot different. And it took us a while to get our second energy manager. So we started the race late. I'll add to what Dave mentioned. I personally have been out to some schools and had conversations with principals about some of these personal devices. And in many cases, they made good reasons for allowing them.
And we appreciate.
Well, there may be, you have to. I mean, that's just how it works. But we did get a late start. And so we're anxious for this summer to get here because that's where you get the bulk of your savings. We will be working more with the school performance officers in enlisting their help and getting some buy-in on getting some compliance on these things. We also had some challenges we didn't know that we had. I'll give you a couple of examples. Sun Valley Middle and Piedmont Middle. We have some challenges at those sites with humidity, much more so. In fact, we don't have any humidity control there, which necessitated us running the air conditioning.
Parkwood doesn't have it though?
Right, and Parkwood as well.
Wow.
But so those are things that we ran into. But I'm anxious for the summer to get here. We're in our stride now. We got a late start. We didn't have the personnel in place, so we're anxious for the summer to get here.
Do you think that we've figured out a way to mitigate those issues at Piedmont, Sun Valley? And I mean, I know that
leave it running.
And I know that, but that's better than the alternative.
Absolutely, absolutely.
They were having some pretty major issues at Sun Valley Middle School last.
And
you guys took care of it, and I appreciate that. And you had people come in and clean the classrooms and stuff. But it was, and I get that that's something that's not going to help us on the energy conservation side, but we have to have classrooms that people can work in and learn in and stuff like that. So it's a balance between those. And right, when they went down at night, when they turned off at night and came back on, it was constantly trying to keep up, especially in old buildings.
So trust me, I got the phone calls and they did too.
I know, me too.
And we took care of that. But
I know you guys did.
I do want to point out just yesterday, and I've talked to our energy managers about this. We have not drilled down yet to, and it's on us, to the principals, to the teachers, and to the custodians. We've not drilled down to them that we really need to participate in this and make it successful. And I'll give you a prime example. I was in an elementary school yesterday afternoon with Renee McKinnon. We were walking the building looking at some issues, and it was like a Christmas tree. And so, again, every nickel and dime we save turns into quarters. But they weren't doing a good job of keeping things off. And that's on us in terms of educating them and getting FaceTime in front of them to let them know how important we need this to be.
Especially given the summer, you and I, that we've all toured schools in the summertime that is like 68 degrees in the buildings with nobody sitting in them. So the summer is a huge part where we should be able to say, I mean, the administrative suite has to be, because they're there, so that has to be cold, but the rest of the school doesn't need to be cold.
Could you create a competition between the schools to become more efficient, or some type of, recognition for being energy efficient or something, and make the elementaries compete against each other, the middles and the high, or
Get
something.
the kids involved.
That's all good. And yes, that those are great things to do. And having an incentive out there too, is a great thing.
Because you walk into our schools and you see their distinguishes, like what year to what year, excellence or whatever. What if those schools received like a energy type kind of banner or something?
Mr. Helms had a great idea. I'll give him credit. We're going to have a new program called Energy Brackets.
Oh, Wait, there's a national program, the Energy Star program. I don't know if you all have seen the plaques. And where I came from, it was very competitive. I mean, schools wanted to get that plaque and compete. And that's something we'll look at. We've got so many different varied building types down here.
Exactly.
It's hard to do.
It might be a little unfair.
It might be.
It definitely could be, depending on the building, because you're stuck with whatever building you have, and whatever limited capabilities that building may have.
But maybe it's based on maybe it's how you look at it though. Comparing each individual school's year over year and what their percentage of change is.
Right.
So
I'll say this and then I'll stop. So we had one school, and it was either Weddington or Cuthbertson. I can't remember. The whole 8th grade class, I got to go speak with them last year, and they were on it. The teacher was participating. They had looked up energy costs. They had tried to get some energy data. So we're generating some interest, and that's what we want to do.
Okay. Let's keep moving.
And on that note, as far as, I did want to give a shout out to Sun Valley Middle School, because we've done 2 audits. They've done a great job with turning things around. So they had, as far as the number of TVs left on, the first audit was 47, the second audit was 1.
Oh, wow.
Number of computers left on was 9, then became 2. Front office having all the lights on became 4 lights on. 2 space heaters had been removed. And so through January, they had reduced their utility expenses by 8%. Pomplin Elementary Schools, another school to give a shout out to. Number of smart boards left on from the first audit was 32, second audit was 0. Custodial staff has been taking extra steps to ensure the window blinds are correct, and there were only 2 refrigerators throughout the entire school. And they reduced their utility expenses by 9%. So we did want to definitely acknowledge that. And again, leaving those devices on, TVs, that's $60,000 a year, leaving the TVs on. As Mark said, some of the challenges are HVAC systems, capabilities, the controls, dehumidification, building rentals. The more we operate the building, the higher our utilities costs are going to be. And so that's certainly an issue. And after school programs and other activities. And that's it. We need to educate the everybody as far as the energy policy and the guidelines.
Well, I guess that we have to, the more we rent it out, but the rent has to take into account the cost of things like that. And if we need to revisit that, then we need to revisit that.
Well, I think once we get a handle on costs with our energy managers on board, we can take a closer look at that.
Can't be a losing proposition.
Absolutely.
I mean, we want to invite the community in, but if it's costing us to do that for churches and things like that, we have to think about that.
And one thing you mentioned that I did want to say something about, again, the facility has its limitations. Sometimes we have many zones that we can control at a facility, and sometimes we don't. And so it could be that we need to operate most of the school for a small area. And I do hope that we can get, as far as on the rental side, that we can produce maps that show what those zones are. So maybe we can limit, a use to a particular zone as opposed to many. And people just don't know what those zones are.
Right. Thank you for the update. Construction update. Top of the tree.
Okay, and I'll try to make this quick. But as far as transportation center, The erosion control and site clearing activities are underway. Again, those are the first two priorities, and then it's getting that drive so that they can get to the back of the site. We don't have the building permit, but we don't need the building permit yet because we certainly aren't ready to be. We don't have a building pad. We don't have any kind of footings to be inspected. Project completion is likely June of 2020. Monroe High School is coming along really nicely.
Oh, that looks nice.
So roofing, we've got a roofing, mechanical, plumbing, electrical, air barrier, and brick veneer, are all underway. I'd say brick veneer in the front is probably about 85% complete. In the back, it's probably 50% complete. And those are the two main exposures. The project is it's about 72% complete, and that contract value is $4,494,000. I mentioned that because we did have some change orders on that, and you'll see that in a second. Sun Valley High School, the work includes the practice field, fine grading. We're hoping that seeding is going to be taking place, and maybe it has taken place, hopefully this week. The stadium field grading and reshaping the basin, underground utilities. We've got I think we have a picture of the visitors concessions where you see we've got footings and underground utilities, and that was ready for a slab getting ready for a slab to be poured. Within the next 2 weeks, contractors expect to pour the home concession slab, seed the practice field, and begin work on the track. And that'll be a good milestone because that'll mean we will have dealt with a lot of the erosion control issues that are kind of preventing us from developing that stadium further. We hope to be able to provide a number of unsuitable soils that would all still be within the allowances. Obviously, you can see from the pictures, still wet conditions. We're still at a bad time with this project as we are so site dependent, on the work. We're about 7.5% complete with the project. The school, of course, really needs, some play area. And so we're definitely hearing it and trying to, keeping our fingers crossed with the weather. That's predominantly what the issue is. The contractor is working where they can work and when they can work.
I'll throw in, I've had many conversations with the athletic director. And so we've been lenient with them in terms of activity buses going to and from practice areas.
Porter Ridge Middle and High School. Most of the work is focused at the middle school. We did have a repair that you see in the picture, and that is mostly complete. That dealt with masonry piers, and that's in the auxiliary gym. The classroom addition is coming along nicely. They should be starting brick veneer, I hope, today. They should have received the material yesterday, but they're going to be starting hopefully this week on brick veneer. Mechanical, electrical, plumbing is underway, as you can see in that photo. They're about 38% complete on that contract. We haven't had any change orders to affect the value of that. Western Union, we have a change order pending, and that is the structural item that I mentioned to you. Piedmont High School, that one's substantially complete. And then on the capital side, many of these items these are the more recent items. So ADA improvements, that's something that we hope to have approved later in this meeting. That's CIP 17-18 funds. I mentioned that because if you look at the top, 17-18 CIP funds, we've got 83 projects that are either complete or in the construction phase. Many of the items today are 17-18 CIP items, so we do think that that 85% will shoot up to the mid to upper 90s, and that we'll be beginning to wrap that up. Tennis court additions replacement, the Board of County Commissioners did approve Monday the funding request. So we're pursuing with contracts and purchase order and trying to get a pre-construction meeting with the contractor. You know, actually, I misspoke. The county, I misspoke. So tennis court additions, that's for Canada, Forest Hills, Parkwood, Piedmont, and Porter Ridge. This project, we've bid it several times. It was over budget. We bid it recently. It was over budget. We negotiated that down. But in the end, the scope change was deemed to be too great. So we have revised the drawings and we're out to bid again. So we've re-advertised it. The new bid date is April 23rd. So my apologies on that. And that does utilize CIP 1718 and 1819 budgets. Forest Hills and Prospect, we had hoped to have an award today, but we'll be out to rebid the Weddington and Porter Ridge High School track. That's the one. That's the one. Yeah, so April 15th, I just need to read my notes. April 15th, the County Commissioners approved the transfer of funds request. We're anticipating this work to take place this summer. That's a contract with Baseline Sports Construction. And it's 1718 funds that Indian Trail. This is a job we are working when and where we can. And so this is a long duration project. We are just now starting up the new chillers, the upcoming work is going to be media center air handler replacement. That's going to happen spring break. After that, we're going to be doing the unit that serves the cafeteria, and then multi-zone areas, the office, some classroom unit ventilators, fan core units. Marshville Elementary School, it's a big window project that's getting ready to start this summer. Video doorbells, we're waiting to receive a quote, we hope this week, and that work will begin this summer. And one thing I did want to mention on bond work at Sun Valley High School, the chiller work, a good portion of that school is dependent on a chiller that we haven't had. So this winter we've been anxiously, trying to get this chiller, in place, and that is scheduled to start during spring break.
Perfect storm at Sun Valley. From the construction to the no air conditioning to the.
Yeah, and this chiller.
Not that I hear about it every day.
So this chiller this new chiller is replacing a chiller that died, and it died over the winter. So certainly we would want the timing to be better, that we would replace the chiller before it dies. In this particular case, the chiller had been ordered, and we'd been waiting for it to receive it before when the existing chiller died. So that school has a good portion of the school that does not have air conditioning, and it should just be for this week.
So it should be up and running, the new chiller, by the Monday after break.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you for that update. Change order update.
Okay. This is the Monroe High School change orders that I mentioned. We had a change for basically $8,500, which included a brick change and spiral deck change. And then one that probably needs a little explanation is we did a $25,000 allowance change order. So we created an allowance so that we wouldn't have to go through all the issues and the paperwork and all that kind of stuff for each and every small change order that comes up. And so both of those are increases to those contract values, but they're all within the budget.
Great. Surplus inventory, we've got a copy of that.
There's a lot of items this time. Some child nutrition and exceptional children and facilities.
Great. Building and zoning permits.
just typical information. And if there's any questions, we certainly can research whatever may need to be looked at.
Okay, great. That ends our open session part. I need a motion to go into closed session pursuant to NCGS 143-131 for the consideration of bids and pursuant to NCGS 143-318.10 to review minutes from prior closed session minutes.
So moved.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.